There is a quiet revolution happening among women today, a shift that isn't loud or aggressive, but deliberate and deeply powerful. It's the rise of the detached woman, and yet, every time the word detachment is used in the context of women, especially in relationships, it's often misunderstood. People assume she's distant, aloof, perhaps even heartless. But let's get one thing straight. Detachment is not coldness. It is not apathy. Detachment is clarity. Detachment is self-respect. Detachment is power. For centuries, women have been conditioned to believe that attachment is a virtue, that our emotional labor, our nurturing instincts, and our ability to hold things together are what define our value. We've been taught that if we're not feeling deeply for someone, waiting for their attention, adjusting our needs, and proving our loyalty, then somehow we're doing love wrong. But here's the truth that's finally rising to the surface. Needing someone and loving someone are not the same. And basing your emotional survival on another person is not romance, it's self-abandonment. When a woman begins to detach, she doesn't stop caring. She simply stops controlling. She releases the idea that her happiness must come through another person's actions, moods, or decisions. She recognizes that clinging, whether to people, situations, or identities, is often rooted in fear, and fear is the opposite of love. Love is spacious, love is trusting, love is freedom. A detached woman doesn't shut down her heart. She simply opens it in a different direction, toward herself. There's nothing more magnetic than a woman who chooses peace over chaos. One who does not react to every text delay, every mixed signal, every hot and cold game of emotional hide and seek. She isn't emotionally unavailable, she's emotionally intelligent. She understands that her time and energy are finite resources. She won't invest them in places where she's constantly left questioning her worth. Her detachment is her boundary is her protection. Let's also dismantle the idea that detachment means being emotionless. On the contrary, it often comes after a woman has felt everything, after she has poured her heart out one too many times into people who couldn't hold it, after she's cried for hours, doubting herself, breaking her own standards to keep others comfortable, after she's dimmed her light so others wouldn't feel threatened by her brilliance. Detachment is not a lack of feeling, it's the wisdom that grows after the pain. It is the armor built from surviving what tried to destroy her. She learns that peace is not given, it is created. And sometimes the price of peace is detaching from what doesn't align with your soul anymore. Men, consciously or not, are deeply drawn to this kind of woman, not because she plays games or manipulates their attention, but because her energy demands respect. She doesn't beg, she doesn't chase, she doesn't over-explain. There is something irresistible about someone who is whole on their own. When she says yes, it's intentional. When she says no, it's final. Her presence feels different because she's not seeking approval, she's extending invitation. That confidence is not something you can fake. It's earned and it radiates. It's important to note that detachment isn't about superiority or arrogance. It doesn't come from a place of bitterness or disdain. It comes from a deep knowing that your life is too valuable to waste on inconsistency, that you don't have to entertain confusion in the name of companionship, that your standards are not too high if they simply require respect, effort, and emotional maturity. A detached woman isn't rude, she's clear, and clarity, while uncomfortable for some, is an act of kindness. It sets everyone free. This level of self-possession doesn't just appear overnight. It often comes after the woman has chosen herself again and again, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. It comes after walking away from relationships where she was loved in halves, after saying goodbye to people who only wanted access to her, but not responsibility for her heart. It comes from deciding that her love is not a currency to be spent trying to earn someone else's consistency. It's not about closing the door on love. It's about no longer opening it for those who knock with empty hands. There's also a spiritual layer to this. Detachment is ancient wisdom. In many philosophies, from Buddhism to Stoicism to Eastern mysticism, detachment is considered a path to peace, enlightenment, and strength. Not because it discourages connection, but because it encourages balance. It teaches you to love without possession, to care without control, and to be present without clinging to outcomes. In the context of modern womanhood, detachment becomes a tool of survival, of liberation. We've been handed emotional blueprints based on sacrifice, but this generation of women is rewriting the script, and what a beautiful script it is. Imagine a woman who smiles not because someone texted her, but because she feels at home in her own presence, who spends her evenings doing what fulfills her instead of refreshing a feed, waiting for someone to remember she exists, who goes on dates with curiosity, not desperation, who listens more than she speaks, observes more than she performs. Her detachment allows her to see things clearly, to spot red flags without making excuses, to recognize her needs without feeling guilty for having them. Now, some will be intimidated by her. Of course they will. We live in a culture that often equates a woman's silence with submission, but when her silence is intentional, when it's rooted in discernment, in self-respect, in power, it threatens those who rely on her doubt to feel strong. She will be called cold. She will be called too much or too distant or too independent, but she doesn't flinch because she knows who she is, and she refuses to shrink to fit a mold that was never built for her expansion. Detachment doesn't mean she doesn't want love. It means she's not hungry for it at the expense of her soul. It means that if love shows up, it must meet her at her frequency, not pull her down to confusion or chaos. It means her partner must come with truth, not games, with intention, not breadcrumbs, with depth, not distraction. And because she demands this, not loudly, but simply by existing in her power, she often receives it. That's the irony. Detachment doesn't repel love, it refines it. In every space, be it relationships, careers, friendships, or family. A woman who practices detachment becomes a force. She doesn't force opportunities, she aligns with them. She doesn't panic when things don't go her way. She pivots. She knows that holding on too tightly often breaks what's meant to be free. So she lets go, not because she's given up, but because she trusts. In herself, in her timing, in her intuition, and this kind of trust, this calm rooted in detachment, is rare. It's rare because it requires you to believe that you are enough without proof, to believe that your worth isn't on trial every time someone walks away, to believe that you are not made smaller by someone else's inability to see your value. This is not arrogance, this is awareness, and it's magnetic. So to every woman who has been told that she's too detached, too calm, too distant, take it as a sign that your power is showing. That you are no longer willing to abandon yourself for the comfort of others, that you are not cold, you are clear, you are not unreachable, you are rooted, and that kind of energy, that's not just attractive. It's unforgettable. There's a profound truth that often gets lost in conversations about attraction and relationships. The most magnetic quality a woman can have is not how much she can give to others, but how deeply she values herself. When a woman puts herself first, not selfishly, but intentionally, there is a powerful energy that radiates from her. This energy is magnetic, irresistible, and transformative. It draws people in not because she's desperate for attention or approval, but because she is rooted in her own worth and moving through life with a clear sense of purpose. Too often, women have been socialized to believe that prioritizing themselves is a luxury or even a flaw. We've been taught that to be loved, we must first be available, emotionally, physically, mentally, often at the expense of our own needs. We've been encouraged to put others before ourselves, to nurture, to sacrifice, to make ourselves smaller to fit into spaces that were never designed for our expansion. But there is a revolution brewing against this old narrative. It's a movement toward radical self-prioritization, and it's shaking the very foundations of how women are seen, how they see themselves, and how they connect with others. When a woman chooses to put herself first, she's not ignoring the people around her. She's not turning her back on relationships or responsibilities. Rather, she's honoring the fundamental truth that she cannot pour from an empty cup. She understands that if she doesn't nourish herself, her mind, her body, her spirit, then she will not have the fullness, the clarity, or the strength to engage with the world authentically. This kind of self-priority is not selfishness. It is self-preservation. It is the cornerstone of emotional health and resilience. This energy, the one that comes from truly valuing oneself, is powerful because it signals something deeply attractive to others: confidence. Confidence that is quiet, steady, and unwavering. It is not the loud bravado that demands validation or approval, but the calm assurance that comes from knowing who you are and what you deserve. When a woman moves through the world prioritizing herself, she naturally sets a standard for how others should treat her. She doesn't need to spell it out because her energy communicates it effortlessly. Men, and honestly everyone, are drawn to this kind of woman because she is not lost in the game of seeking external affirmation. She does not bend or compromise her essence to fit another's expectations. Instead, she brings her full self, flaws, strengths, dreams, and boundaries to every interaction. This presence creates a magnetic pull because it's rare. It's rare to encounter someone who loves themselves enough to demand respect, who is unapologetic about her needs, and who is secure enough to let others see her authentic self without fear. There is a misconception that prioritizing yourself means you put others last or that you lack empathy. But this couldn't be further from the truth. When a woman centers herself, she is actually better equipped to give to others because she is grounded. She is not giving out of obligation or depletion, but out of abundance. She can be fully present, fully engaged, and fully generous, not because she's sacrificing herself, but because she's whole. This kind of generosity is magnetic in its authenticity. It is also important to understand that self-priority is deeply personal. It does not look the same for everyone. For some, it might mean carving out time for creative passions, exercise, or meditation. For others, it could mean setting firm boundaries around toxic relationships or saying no to commitments that drain energy. For many, it involves embracing imperfections and letting go of the need to be everything to everyone. The common thread is intention. The woman who prioritizes herself does so deliberately, with a sense of respect and love for who she is and what she needs to thrive. This kind of intentional self-care and prioritization often requires courage. It means going against ingrained cultural expectations and sometimes facing criticism. It means resisting the pressure to always be available or agreeable. It means trusting your own voice and wisdom even when it challenges those around you, and that courage is another form of magnetism. People are drawn not just to what you do, but to the strength it takes to do it. Men are especially attracted to women who embody this courage because it signals emotional maturity. It signals that she is someone who won't lose herself in the relationship or rely on him for her happiness. Instead, she offers a partnership based on equality and mutual respect. This is the kind of woman who uplifts, inspires, and challenges her partner to grow, not by demanding it, but simply by being herself fully. That energy is electric. There's also a subtle shift in how a woman who prioritizes herself approaches love and relationships. She doesn't enter relationships from a place of lack or need. She enters from a place of abundance and choice. She knows her worth and is not afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't honor that worth. This is liberating, not just for her, but for her partner as well, because it invites honesty, authenticity, and depth. It calls for a connection that is based on true compatibility rather than dependency. The world is beginning to recognize the power of this kind of self-prioritization. Women leaders, creators, and trailblazers are showing us that success and magnetism come from aligning with your true self, not from conforming to external expectations. When you prioritize yourself, you are declaring that your dreams, health, and happiness matter just as much as anyone else's. That declaration alone shifts the dynamic in any room or relationship. It's worth noting that this self-priority doesn't mean perfection or ego-driven behavior. It means being kind to yourself while holding yourself accountable. It means celebrating your wins and forgiving your mistakes. It means understanding that your value is inherent and not contingent on others' approval or attention. This balance of humility and confidence is deeply attractive because it reflects authenticity. When a woman prioritizes herself, she also cultivates a kind of inner peace that radiates outward. There's a calmness in her presence that draws people in, a sense of safety and steadiness. She becomes a sanctuary in a chaotic world, someone who inspires trust simply by being centered. That is the kind of energy that sustains long-term connections and meaningful relationships. Furthermore, prioritizing yourself opens the door for others to do the same. It models a healthy way of living and loving that encourages mutual respect and boundaries. It creates space for both partners to grow independently and together. It breaks cycles of codependency and exhaustion. And in doing so, it creates relationships that are not only magnetic, but also sustainable and deeply fulfilling. This magnetism also extends beyond romantic relationships. Women who prioritize themselves inspire those around them, friends, family, colleagues, to embrace their own worth and set their own standards. They become leaders not because they seek status or control, but because their self-respect naturally commands attention and admiration. Their energy changes the culture around them, shifting it toward more respect, honesty, and empowerment. In the end, the message is clear. A woman who puts herself first is a force. She moves through life with intention, clarity, and grace. She doesn't wait for permission to be her fullest self. She creates the life she wants and invites others to join her, not as saviors or judges, but as equals and partners. And that energy, that commitment to self-priority, is one of the most magnetic qualities a woman can embody. To every woman listening, this is your invitation. Prioritize yourself unapologetically. Honor your needs, your dreams, your peace. Know that doing so is not only your right but your power. When you do, you won't just attract others, you'll attract the right others. Those who see you, respect you, and cherish you for exactly who you are. And that truly is the most beautiful kind of attraction there is. Letting go is often misunderstood in our culture. It's seen as a sign of weakness or defeat, something to avoid at all costs. We've been taught to hold on tightly, to people, to relationships, to expectations, to dreams, even when those things no longer serve us or nourish our souls. But the truth is, letting go is one of the most courageous acts a woman can perform. It is a profound declaration of strength, wisdom, and self-respect. To let go doesn't mean to give up. It doesn't mean to stop caring or to shut down your emotions. Letting go means choosing yourself over fear, choosing peace over pain, and choosing growth over stagnation. It means recognizing that some things are not meant to be carried forever, and that releasing them opens the door for new possibilities. This is not easy. It requires bravery, clarity, and trust in the journey of life. Women, especially, are often caught in the trap of holding on too tightly. We hold on to relationships that drain us because we fear loneliness or judgment. We hold on to past mistakes because we are haunted by guilt or shame. We hold on to outdated identities because they feel safe and familiar, but holding on without awareness is a form of self-betrayal. It keeps us trapped in cycles that limit our potential and dim our light. There is a sacred power in the ability to let go. It is the power to reclaim your emotional freedom. When you let go of what no longer serves you, whether it's a toxic relationship, limiting belief, or painful memory, you create space for healing and renewal. You stop investing your energy in things that weigh you down, and you start investing it in yourself. This shift is transformative because it puts you back in the driver's seat of your life, Letting go also requires a deep trust in yourself and in the universe. It requires faith that by releasing what is harmful or stagnant, you are making room for something better. This faith is not blind optimism, it is a grounded understanding that life is fluid and ever-changing. When you hold on too tightly, you resist this natural flow, but when you let go, you move with it, allowing your life to unfold in ways you might never have imagined. This strength, the strength to let go, is magnetic. It draws people in because it signals emotional maturity and resilience. It shows that you are not afraid of change or uncertainty, that you value your peace above the need to control or predict outcomes, that you honor your worth enough to walk away from what diminishes you. This kind of power is rare and beautiful because it is rooted in self-awareness and courage. Men and people in general are deeply attracted to women who embody this strength. Not because they are detached or indifferent, but because they are real, because they are whole, because they live their truth without apology or compromise. A woman who lets go does so from a place of clarity, not confusion. She does not hold grudges or carry bitterness. Instead, she moves forward with grace and dignity, inviting others to meet her there. There is also a liberating paradox in letting go. The more you release, the more you gain. When you let go of old wounds, you make room for healing. When you let go of unhealthy attachments, you make space for healthy connections. When you let go of fear, you open yourself to love, joy, and abundance. This is the alchemy of surrender, the power to transform pain into growth, loss into opportunity, and endings into beginnings. Letting go is a form of self-love. It is saying to yourself, I deserve better. It is refusing to settle for less than you are worth. It is choosing peace over chaos, hope over despair, and freedom over captivity. This act of self-love is revolutionary because it challenges the narratives that keep women small and dependent. It rewrites the story to one where women are empowered creators of their own lives. This process is not always linear or easy. Letting go can be painful because it involves confronting loss, disappointment, and sometimes betrayal. It requires patience with yourself and compassion for your journey. But each time you choose to release what no longer serves you, you build emotional muscles that make you stronger and more resilient. You become a woman who can weather storms without losing herself. There is a profound beauty in the woman who has learned to let go. She carries herself with a quiet confidence that says, I have been through fire and emerged whole. Her scars do not define her, they testify to her strength. She knows that her worth is not tied to her past or her circumstances. She walks forward with an open heart, ready to embrace what life has to offer without fear or hesitation. Letting go also means forgiving, not just others, but yourself. It means releasing blame, resentment, and the burden of carrying emotional pain. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself because it frees you from the chains of bitterness. It allows you to reclaim your joy and live fully in the present moment. A woman who forgives is radiant because she has broken free from the prison of her past. This strength is visible in every aspect of her life, in the way she sets boundaries without guilt, in the way she chooses relationships that nurture rather than drain her, in the way she pursues her dreams without hesitation, in the way she faces challenges with grace and determination. This woman understands that letting go is not a loss, but a gain of freedom, dignity, and power. Moreover, letting go creates space for authenticity. When you stop trying to control every outcome or hold on to illusions, you allow your true self to shine. You stop performing or pretending to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. You become honest with yourself and with others, and this honesty is magnetic because it invites genuine connection. People are drawn to authenticity because it feels safe and real. Letting go also nurtures peace. It is an act of surrender that calms the mind and soothes the soul. When you release attachment to things beyond your control, you experience a sense of liberation that is deeply healing. This peace becomes a foundation from which you can build a life of joy and fulfillment. It is not about ignoring reality, but about accepting it with grace and wisdom. In relationships, letting go is essential for growth. Holding on to unhealthy dynamics out of fear or habit only perpetuates pain and dysfunction. Letting go allows space for mutual respect, understanding, and true intimacy. It creates a dynamic where both partners can grow independently and together. This kind of relationship is sustainable because it is built on freedom, not control. Letting go is also an act of empowerment. It shifts the narrative from victimhood to agency. Instead of being trapped by circumstances, you take control of your story. You decide what to keep and what to release. You become the author of your own life, writing chapters of strength, resilience, and transformation. This empowerment is magnetic because it inspires others to do the same. It is important to recognize that letting go is not about denying your emotions or pretending everything is fine. It is about acknowledging your feelings, learning from them, and choosing to move forward. It is about honoring your pain without allowing it to define you. This emotional maturity is attractive because it reflects inner strength and wisdom. In the journey of letting go, self-compassion is vital. Be gentle with yourself as you navigate the process. Celebrate the progress you make, no matter how small. Understand that healing is not linear and that setbacks are part of growth. This kindness toward yourself nurtures resilience and fosters a positive mindset that attracts positivity into your life. Finally, letting go opens the door to transformation. It invites new experiences, new relationships, and new opportunities that align with your highest good. It allows you to shed the old and embrace the new with excitement and hope. This willingness to evolve is magnetic because it shows that you are alive, vibrant, and ready to embrace the fullness of life. In essence, letting go is one of the greatest strengths a woman can cultivate. It is a declaration of self-love, courage, and wisdom. It is a path to freedom, peace, and authentic connection. It transforms pain into power and endings into beginnings. A woman who lets go walks with grace and confidence, radiating an energy that is deeply attractive and unforgettable. To every woman listening, know this: you are not weak for letting go. You are powerful beyond measure. Embrace the strength in release, trust the journey, and watch as your life transforms in ways you never thought possible.